My name's TJ. I'm here with Absolute Heaven, aka Heaven Sophia.
Is it okay if I call you a nerd?
Yeah, call me a nerd. Yeah, I've been a nerd since '83. I feel like I was born a nerd. Yeah, it feels like it's an eternal thing for sure. My mom, she's like, that new He-Man movie came out, and I still got pictures of you from '84 with you holding your toys in front of the TV screen. I'm like, yeah, that had to be nerd since the beginning because that was like 40 years ago. It's crazy. My mother was the first person who kind of recognized my interest in pop culture. Because again, growing up, I was literally like GI Joe, Transformers, He Man, anything cool that was on the TV cartoon wise. And then obviously I would be playing with the toys. So she was like, maybe I should take him to a comic book shop, but like we don't want to get him to read more content and really get his vocabulary up. And comics was my gateway to reading more stuff. And if I was good and I did my homework, I would get like an expensive comic that was like, signed by Jim Lee or Adam Kubert or whoever was hot at the time. She would incentivize me to read. So she was that first person who kind of like pegged it like, oh, this is what's working for my son. Let me keep doing that for him. And let's just try to water this plant.
What's the best comic your mom made sure that you got a hold of?
Yeah, so when it first came out and Wolverine got his adamantium taken by Magneto, that Fatal Attractions issue, I think it was signed by Adam Kubert, and that book was $35. Now, again, in like, in the 90s for a comic, that's kind of a lot, especially a single issue. So she's like, I don't know, this is a lot. So you're gonna have to do some extra, some chores around the house, the dishes, whatever.
You must have taken really good care of your stuff then.
Yeah, I still got them. I still have I got a ton of long boxes in my storage space because I can't fit them in my apartments. Otherwise, there would be no living, any place to live or move around.
Part of why I wanted to talk to you is because I know you were in Chicago for C2E2 and you're from the Midwest. You live in Los Angeles, so correct?
Yeah, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grew up going back and forth to Chicago. So I've been traveling to LA since I was a little kid. And I was like, man, I just love the West Coast. I love the weather. I love the energy, the creativity of the city. And I moved out here about 3 years ago and no, 4 years ago. And it's been pretty dope so far.
Do you think you could have accomplished what you're accomplishing now from the Midwest? Do you feel like LA was the next step or was this just part of the journey?
Yeah, no, I think if you want to be a well-versed businessman or businesswoman, the best thing to do is to be able to have been well-traveled. I mean, just having the ability to understand those environments is really important, I think, for just being a well-rounded person as well. So it serves you and your business on a lot of levels.
Let's say I'm a kid coming up trying to decide what I want to do with my life. I know I'm a creative person and I want to stick with the creative field. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who isn't there yet, can just make that move?
What advice would I give to an up and coming creator that wants to find their voice and understand their place in the creative world? Which is a fabulous question because there's so many different avenues that you can go with art. And what I love about comics is that it really is the gateway to so many other incredible fields. It all kind of starts with that sequential narrative of writing and drawing comics. So like it's like the perfect place to begin. So if you are thinking about other things, because I was this close to being a 3D illustrator designer. I wanted to do games for the longest. That was like the one thing I wanted to do. And the spiritual pull kept bringing me back to comics. And I'm very much a person who thrives on trusting his instincts. And that was even this move to LA was a spiritual pull. It was a feeling that I knew I had to do for the longevity, the creativity, and the next step in my business and my creative, life and whatnot. So I encourage every young person to really take a moment and just feel your energy, understand your energy, where it's coming from, what it's pushing you towards. If it's comics, great. If it's something else, great. And when you kind of found something that's really like lighting your fire and you're feeling like this is the thing, that I want to do, then put your all into it. Really, really work hard, spend less time online and more time doing the work. Even after college, I would still take time to study art books and sketchbooks from different artists. Like I was a huge J. Scott Campbell, Michael Turner fan in the 2000s. So I like bought every sketchbook they ever made and I was trying to decode how they did what they did so I could apply it to my work. Having the consistency because the practice of being consistent is really what's going to move the needle for you and it's going to reveal what it is that you want to do. That's what I would say.
But they don't have to be in LA to start.
Nah, they could be anywhere. I mean, that's a beautiful part. Like pandemic it gave us this virtual environment, this rich, robust virtual environment. So you could learn how to do certain things from your laptop, from your iPad. I mean, most of the classes that I teach at the Joe Kubert School, which is the world's first comic book university, a lot of those are virtual. And my students are everywhere. So you can be anywhere and everywhere and still learn how to do the thing if you really want to do it.
There's like this bias. You feel like you need to have the perfect tech, you need to have the perfect setup, the perfect amount of knowledge, but sometimes you just have to get started. I think social media is kind of showing that. There's a trend of people saying, day one of me learning how to do this thing I've never done before. And I think that's really inspiring and helpful to give people that push.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just starting something and doing the one thing is just so important. I mean, some people, when they're trying to discover what really makes them tick, it takes a few different tries. And, I always say like, hey, if you really want to find out what works for you, try doing one thing for a year, 6 months, just see how it's going, how it feels. And if after you still experience hardships and difficulties and you still want to do it, that's the thing.
You're busy from what I
Yeah.
can tell.
All the time.
You're writing, you're creating,
Yeah.
you have a business that you're running.
Oh man.
How are you doing all of that?
I've cloned myself. I'm the multiplier guy
Damn.
in X-Men. That's me.
That is not the practical advice I was looking for. I guess we should all just quit.
Nah, just balance. I'm always writing. I probably, I write towards like I'm building scripts. I don't do one script in one day or one script in a week. I give myself a month to get an outline done. And then the following month to go in and adjust that outline. And then a following month to just really make sure it's perfect and get some editors to take a look. And then like, hey, this is ready. Now we can go look for an artist. So I'd really just try to hyper focus my time on one thing. The company's growing so quickly. We're making moves. I'll just say this Tessina series that you started reading, I started that series in 2020 and I released it in 2026. There's 6 books that are done and it took 6 years to get there. People think it's fast. It's only because I've worked behind the scenes and only released what's available at the time. There's so much time in a day. And if you are thinking about where do I find time for fun? You can still have time for fun. Like, pick a couple of hours. I love rewarding myself with like a walk in the park or watching a movie or playing some video games after I've done the work.
So you started writing to Cena when you were still in Michigan.
Nah, so first 18 years of my life were in Michigan. And then from 19 to 30 something, I was in Jersey. And I worked in New York City that entire time and started my career working in comics at Marvel in 2010 and then moved here in 2022. So yeah, I've been Midwest, East Coast here. So when I wrote this book, I was working for a fashion company. They do all big box fashion licensed retailers. And while I was working there, I was writing on my off time, probably when I wasn't supposed to be, but I was like, hey, my work is done. So I'm going to go ahead and write. Listen, the best advice I can give is treat every job you have as, your startup capital, like your incubator. On my lunch break, I'm drawing, I'm writing, I'm doing whatever it takes. No matter the time, if I can find the time that I can take back, I'm going to take it back. And not going to tell anybody I'm doing that, but I'm going to write and get that done no matter what.
There's a joke about going to the bathroom, using the restroom on company time, getting paid for
Mhm.
that. I think what you're choosing to do is a little bit better. That decision to capitalize on that time beyond the how do you say, like, rebellious? See, people find ways of rebelling at work by like disappearing for a little while and that type of thing. You could be working on a business plan, but you look busy. Take advantage of that time and show up and be a good sport and put a smile on your face and have good output, and people will leave you alone. I like that you say it's like taking your time back.
Don't kill yourself for a job. Who knows if it'll even be here? So many companies go under, things happen, they lay people off. You want to make sure you're prioritizing yourself and what you need to do for you. It's another like no pain, no gain. Like, you can't get stronger in the gym or in business if you don't experience some growing pains, if you don't go in and sacrifice a little bit. And I think it's just a life thing. Everybody's got the low attention span. When you take a step back and you say, okay, if I really want to get good at something, I can't think in fast terms. I have to think in, consistency terms. Just continuing to keep the same pace and not burning myself out. And that becomes like the secret sauce right there.
I feel like that burnout really shows up when you are focused on those fast reward things. And that's how you burn your body out. That's how you burn your mind out. That's how you burn your wallet out.
Listen, we need to have a session where you're interviewing yourself because, I mean,
I'm
The
so sorry,
audience
I'm talking too much.
No, no. No, you're great. I'm just saying because you are coming to this not only as a fan, but as a professional, and what I'm sensing is that the industry that you were in before you started doing this was very complex and robust, and you had to be a person that could juggle and understand how to, like, meet deadlines. Or
Yeah, I'll have to do a breakdown at some point. I am working towards my MBA, I will say that, and it is a very creative-less endeavor, right? Like it feels that way. But if you're a creative person, you can take anything that you're working toward and you can find the creativity in it. And honestly, I'm at a point in my schooling where I'm like, hate this. I'm almost done. I've got 2 months left. I'm so done. I'm ready to be done. But I've been able to find a lot of value in it anyway because I take this thing I hate. I find ways to apply it to things I love. At some point in life, I feel like you have to learn how to do that, right? Like you've had to do it for sure. But if you can adapt, then you can find ways to take these lessons and put them somewhere.
Absolutely. Everybody who's watching this, frame the experiences that you have, the good and the bad, as learning tools and, something that will give you the insight to just be better human, be, more well-rounded person. Life is always teaching us stuff. Even art teaches us stuff. Like when we're in the midst of creating, school is one of those very, very difficult things because, you want to create, you want to make something. And it's like, hey, I've got these assignments I got to finish. And I've got this time in this class. And I got some people who are teachers got practicum and they got all these different things that take them away from the creativity part. But you got to soldier through because it really is just like you said, that MBA is going to allow you to put all of the gas in the right tank. Like you're going to have all the fuel, the knowledge, like, okay, the vehicle becomes what you want, and then it's going to take you to wherever you're supposed to go. So it's very exciting. I'm excited for you. And, the fact that we're close is good. 2 years is close, guys. 1 year is close. I know it won't feel like it, but yeah, it's close.
Now I'm a fantasy person. I lean more fantasy. I love that. And like I will talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer every day till I die. But why do shows like The Office make it and Parks and Recreation? It's finding that satire and that comedy and that intrigue in those everyday weird moments. Like you can truly, if you're open to it, find inspiration in anything. So I want that to be something that doesn't hold people back. I don't live in a great place. I mean, did Scranton seem like a great place to live? Like, you just have to have an open mind, and you're gonna be rewarded for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great advice. 100%.
I wanna know how Tessina came to be.
Yeah. So, I've been getting a lot of questions about why her, because I mean, the series Alchemist that I started the company with back in, 2015 was my love letter to the 90s. It was everything I loved about that era, so it's kind of a mix of like Power Rangers and what is it called? A little bit of Incredible Hulk with some Spawn in there. And it has all these like really cool things that I loved as a kid. And I was like, this is what I want to, the first story I want to make is really an ode to that little boy inside that loved that genre. So but I always, knew for me that like I wanted the story to end at some point. So I drew issues 0 through 6, and I knew that after 6, the entire environment of that world would change. And to me, the natural successor of that world was always going to be Tessina because while she starts out as a villain in this group of 4, biomechanical warriors sent from the future to the past to hunt this one kid, she starts it as a bad person. She's the only one out of the group that has the most heart and has the most possibility and potential to become something more. So I was always curious, what could we do with her character? How could we, write her? And you read the first issue. I kind of wrote it a little bit more, like a little more comedic, a little bit more relaxed compared to the more serious tone of the predecessor or the story before, which is Alchemist. So I had a lot of fun writing her comic, writing her character. She's understanding, her journey, understanding herself because she was created as a killing machine and as a warrior. She, has tried to become human second. So the concept of her character is so interesting to me and what we can do with that. And my editor, Dr. Shamika Mitchell, has had so many great ideas that we both kind of cooked into the story. So I want to shout out her and the creative team. We went more of like an anime styling. And I think that's just because I love anime and manga. I love that whole genre. So I was like, let's give it a little bit of a different look than what they're used to when they see my work, because my work is very 90s inspired. So it has that same styling. But with her book, we wanted to do something different. And that's kind of the genesis of that idea.
This editor, You said Dr. Shamika Mitchell. She's phenomenal. I feel like you can kind of tell when there's a woman in the room. And
Yeah.
I really think you can tell when there's a woman doing the editing. If you want to say anything else on that, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, my next question is going to be about the inside art because I made a comment about that in my review.
Yeah. So, there's so many, there are a lot of male comic creators that write and draw women-based stories, and it works a lot of the time for them. But for me, to have that authenticity, we needed women's voices to inform the story, the characters, the look of the characters, all these different things. Because again, it wouldn't be a story about a woman without a woman also telling that story and contributing to it. And, I was never a fan of the cheesecake 90s and 2000s story where they were just hypersexualizing women and kind of treating them more as objects in the space of comics to
Definitely still a little today, but
it
yes, you're
still
right.
happens. Yeah, it still happens because again, like most of the fans that buy comics historically had been again single white men in from between ages of 21 to 50. They were trying to serve that demographic so that even the stories built around women were to serve that demographic. Very, very weird. And I never really understood it. I never really got it. And like, I come from a family of very strong women who have opinions and thoughts about how characters and how stories should be. They should be representative. And I don't think that should be abnormal. I wanted other people who were in the business to, to contribute. And I've been friends with Shamika for a while. She had edited some of our other books. And I said, hey, this is the thing I want to do. What do you think? Can we work on it together? And that was our first foray into really then cooking up a story that really made sense with the universe. And Shamika is a member of Women in Comics and, has written a bunch of other stuff, edited a bunch of stuff for other companies. So she's very well versed in comics. And again, my grammar can be fucked up sometimes. Excuse my French. So here's my grammar, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man.
Now, on the inside art, I made that comment in my review that it really stood out to me the proportions, which obviously, I mean, she's stacked. She looks amazing. But some of the ways that she's drawn feel a little bit more realistic. Again, it's funny saying that with other gravity defying parts of her body, but I just appreciated like the part where she flies up in the air and she lands on a car and she's kind of crawling up on the car. And normally, when you see a female character crawling in a comic, she's drawn very suggestively. And I felt like this was drawn a little bit more true to real proportions. And I kept looking at her in the action shots. I was like, wow, this is drawn really well. And she still looks amazing, but it's not drawn in a way that feels like if she were unclothed, she'd still look like she was in a fight. She wouldn't look like she was prepping for something else. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was a very conscious effort. We wanted to these things to be as realistic as possible, but be again statuesque superheroine type of look, but be functional. We were really trying to go for something more realistic and more timely and just more respectful. Artists have a very specific way in comics that they're used to drawing stuff. It's a very nuanced thing, and we're trying to do that like with every single issue as much as we can because it is the right thing and it feels like the right thing to do.
We can be a little bit more like treating this character as the subject of the story. She can still look fantastic and she can still have that otherworldly like beauty and attractiveness, but we can also be a little bit more conscientious.
We're thinking like, because martial arts was very much at the forefront of like, even, when you look at some of the earlier Okuma stuff, how Tessina moves in Okumis is very much like a martial artist, or a ballet dancer or somebody who is, a kickboxer or a gymnast. Like it has that kind of whimsical nature of being able to twist her and turn her body. So it's kind of like, how do we make that make sense in terms of just what realistically how it would work? That was always a challenge, even when I was drawing Tessina, as my own character in the beginning. I'm like, how does she move? How does she, do a roundhouse kick and how does that look cool? How does it make sense? So, and then how does her hair flow? And then, there's geometry behind it. It's like a very much a science and really, again, come from a place of respect. Otherwise, again, it can fall into the cheesecake category and no one wants that. It doesn't, we're not interested in having that look. It's been milked to death and it's just not. It's terrible.
Some people do really want that, but I hear you. I agree. It has been, and just, you open yourself up to a new audience. And I've actually noticed that a lot of the videos that your team has shared it's been a lot of women and girls reading. So I hope that's exciting to you as well, that you're bringing in audience like that. I don't think we should try and alienate anybody, but it's cool to see, and I'm always really excited when I see more girls getting into nerdy things just in general.
I'm honored and I'm very grateful. I get an overwhelming sense of that when I see all kinds of people, but specifically women, because historically a lot of my fan base has been men for many, many years. To make something very specific for the ladies, and and then the men are liking it too. I'm like, oh, this is really dope. My mom loved the nerdy stuff. She loved the cool stuff. We watched these movies together. So I think, people who love that really deserve to be seen and to be served as well. So I just have such a good time making these books and being able to meet you guys, you gals in this industry. It's just so much fun. And when you can see someone get excited about a character and they get inspired and they get empowered. Like I said, comics are the gateway to everything. So if a person's being inspired by a comic book that they can see themselves in, they can do almost anything. There's no like mental guardrails or breaks, because if you want to be, an engineer or president or an artist or a skateboarder, you can really do anything you want. And again, comics are that first step in the visual, because the visual of seeing is so powerful. People are still seeing themselves in the art now more than ever, just like they would be seeing themselves in the ad. But I think comics are more hopeful, and they create an environment that really does feel a lot more safe, and it's less judgmental, specifically when you're getting the right type of comics.
Maybe we can't control what comes on the television or we're streaming on our phones or whatever. I don't know. Is saying the word television, does that make me sound old? Because I don't know. Do people even look at?
You
A lot
said
of people don't
streaming.
even own one.
Yo,
But drawing, you can visualize a lot with drawing. You can create the visuals that you want. And I think anyone can learn how to draw, just like anyone allegedly, I haven't learned how, but allegedly anyone can learn how to sing. We can work with the tools that we have and we can create those visuals if we don't see them. And the next thing you know, maybe you're the next up and coming comic book artist.
it's such a powerful medium. And to your point, like you can go anywhere with it. I mean, I think about the lady who does all the costume design. Think of Ruth E. Carter, if I remember her, that's her name. She did for Black Panther and a bunch of other people. Like she's an artist. She's matching colors and motifs and all of these things, whether you're a comic creator, painter, illustrator, like you have the ability to think about motifs and ways to represent pieces of different things, whether it's cultural or whether it's just, again, functional for the story. There's just so many ways, and again, comics are really that vibe, and I'm excited to experiment and show you the world that I built with Tessina. It really is much different than any other book that I've made, and I'm super proud of what we're doing with it so far. So thank you guys for picking it up, reading it. There's a whole lot more that I'm gonna come out with this. It's gonna be dope.
How did you get SOZOMAIKA to do a cover for you?
Oh, Sozo's been a
How
homie.
did you do that?
Yeah, she's been a friend of mine. Yeah, so we're almost at our 10-year friend mark. And I just was like, man, I really want to work with you because I just love your work. I love the things that you're making. And I just feel like you're touching something you're doing something that's never been done before. And I could kind of see the forest for the trees in that moment because I just was so enamored with the quality of her work. She was super funny and chill and quirky to hang out with. So she was a vibe. And, similarly, Nicholas Draper Ivy, when he did that cover for me, it is dope to be able to like connect with people on that level. But yeah, Sozo has done two pieces of Tessina art for me. The one main cover, issue one, is currently available in stores, also online. But she's going to do another cover, most likely for the collected edition. That's exclusive. No
Mm,
one else knows that except, Heaven, Absolute Heaven podcast associates.
Heaven's about to be dropping some money on this, so
So yeah, she's so dope. But yeah, her wait list is crazy. I'm just like, but well worth it for anybody who's waiting on a cover from Sozo. Give her the time, give her all the money she wants. She's an incredible creator, and I'm so honored that she blessed us with a cover.
give her money. I'm so for it. She's one of those artists where can see her style and you can be like, "Is that?" And it's like, "Oh, yes, it is."
Mhm.
She's got a very definitive style. I have like a stack. I'm just waiting for the day that we're at the same con, and I'm like, "How much? Pay you whatever you want."
I think I found your page through the Comic Den because I follow everything that Joe's doing and what they're doing at the shop. I shout out to those guys. I pull up to Joe and I'm like, hey man, I've got this Kickstarter happening. And I said, I'd love for you to get some of these books. So, if you want, I can get you some advanced copies just to give you an idea of the stuff that we make. I think maybe 12:45 in the afternoon, I leave the comic den. And about 10 minutes later, I get a call from Joe. I'm still heading back to North Hollywood where I live. And he's like, "Hey man, are you far away?" I was like, yeah, bro, I'm on the highway." He's like, "Oh man, well, I sold all 5 of those books. I need more." But it was just so funny to me because I was like, it hadn't been 5 minutes and he got rid of those books like that. They were gone.
If he gets something new in, he's gonna talk about you. So I have no doubt someone walked in, asked, "Hey Joe, how's it going?" He's like, "I actually just got this in," and I'm guarantee you, like he had your back with that too. So that's a good story. I love that. Not that you needed it. I'm sure it could have just gone on its own, but you've got the right person on your side if you're with Joe, because he's definitely somebody who's gonna look out for his people.
Yeah, yeah, Joe's dope, and just that I really love what the Comic Den's doing and their support of indies and just the business that they're building. So, a lot of stuff has happened at that shop. The comic shop series, the TV series was filmed there. I had the honor of, and actually gifting some art to the front of the store. So all the store art that you see in the front, Tessina's on there, as well as a bunch of other Remedy characters, is a part of that show. So it was cool.
That was cool. I actually went one day and the cast was there. They had some event happening, I think, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just here to get my pulls." And everyone here looks really important. Can I just get my pulls and leave? He was like, "This is really cool." And I think I walked up to one of them, I was like, "Hey, I think what you're doing is really neat with your show. Okay, bye." Like, because I got super nervous. That's freaking awesome that he opened his doors like that. And that's something where I talked to Caleb Towns and he said, if you have that opportunity to open your doors like that, do it. Supporting other creatives, incredibly important. And just finding that community wherever you're at it's going to be life changing.
Absolutely. I got some questions for you. So,
Oh, okay.
what got you into comics? What was the first thing that really sparked that love for you in the medium of comics?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended and Buffy season 8 was coming out. That was the only way I was still going to have Buffy. And Buffy was I loved superhero movies, but she was I would say like basically my first superhero. I started watching it when I was in kindergarten and I just wanted to be her so bad. So that's what got me into comics.
It's dope. Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's a great actress, and has picked some fantastic roles over the years. Buffy's dope, and there's so many great actors that were a part of that show for so long, and went on to have great careers and do amazing things. But yeah, that and they had some beautiful covers because again, they had more painterly, kind of like semi-realistic, very fine art looking covers on the Buffy
Mhm.
books were making them. And I remember being very excited about it. At that time, I was working at a comic book shop, and that's how our conversation started. Because I was like, "Yeah, I worked at a comic store many years ago before I started making my own." And yeah, people love Buffy. They'd line up for Buffy.
And there's a new book coming out that's Buffy, so I'm really excited about that. I was, like, shaking. I have a 25th anniversary cover that I took to Jenny Friesen to get signed, and I was, like, shaking when I was, like, waiting for her to sign it because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is, like, one of my favorite artists and my favorite show." So, it was, like, overwhelming.
That's great. No, that's so cool. And Buffy feels like such a natural evolution to be in comics. And I think about other shows that had that natural evolution, like Power Rangers as an example, because they do so well with Power Rangers in comic books, even probably better than they did in the show, because there's no real budget. They can do whatever they want and they can really make that story robust and continue it. So it's exciting to see when companies decide, hey, we're gonna keep making this thing, but just in a different incarnation, because it really does keep that life going.
My favorite podcast is called Buffering the Vampire Slayer, which is really
Mhm.
clever. And I started listening to that soon after they came out. And even that's funny because the show got me through childhood. And then the comics got me through some of my young adulthood. And then the podcast got me through pretty much everything since. Like,
Yeah,
because that's an active community. There's like a whole Patreon. We have well, I'm saying we 'cause I'm part of the community. They host it, but I go a Buffy prom at the actual location, Torrance High School. And so yeah, Buffy has been life changing, and even the community in the podcast, like a lot of them are into comic books.
that's so cool. And I didn't that it's me. I'm learning some new stuff that there's even more. That's lit. I have a friend friend who's a Sailor Moon enthusiast, and she tells me very similar things like, "Hey,
Is
there's
it
this whole other
Aaron?
thing." That's Victoria.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know if you know
Aaron
who.
McComic Den,
Oh,
big
yeah.
Sailor Moon person.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
she
Victoria.
is. He loves yeah, I heard about that too, but, you'll probably run into, I think her IG Sailor Victoria, if I'm not mistaken, Victoria Johnson, she's really dope, and she's got all kinds of Sailor Moon, events and things that she does to just keep that whole vibe happening. I was, like, more of a Dragon Ball head, but they were on at the same time, so I'd watch one after the other, and it's just always interesting kind of like seeing a totally different type of story. But Sailor Moon gets gritty, it gets dark, it gets light, it has all of the dimensions, and I just really miss that era of anime, that 80s, 90s. Yes, 80s and 90s, I think. A little bit of the 2000s, but mostly those 2 decades had such original stories that just were you just can't get away from them. They're so incredible.
I started with Sailor Moon. I did get to Dragon Ball eventually, and I have can you see my Vegeta Akira cover over
Yes, I
here?
can see it,
That's
yep.
from yeah, when the creator passed away, I ordered that variant. Um, that's showing that I'm meaning a lot to me as a young adult, so I hear you. Do you have, like, a modern or, like, newer anime that you really like?
Within the last few years, I've been a huge fan of Chainsaw Man and Demon Slayer. Those probably are the
Thanks.
top 2. I was, into My Hero Academia and One Punch Man for a little while, and then they took forever to come out with more stuff, so I just was like, I lost my interest and then went to something else, but, Demon Slayer's been incredible. I'm a big, like, Berserk fan, so, like, some of that more interesting or, like, darker theme type stories I really like a lot, so those are the main 2 right now.
I have one show that I really like, is Apothecary Diaries, and it's not, like, the most action-packed show, but it became my comfort show, like, I've watched it, like, 4 or 5 times. I've watched it in English, I've watched it in Japanese, like, I really, really like that show a lot, and again, not really action-packed, it's kind of the opposite of Demon Slayer in a lot of ways, but it's really good.
I'm writing this down now because I've heard, quite a few things about it, but I've never checked it out. So now that I have it in my notes, I am gonna be watching it, and I will have to follow up with you on Apothecary Diaries.
Yeah, well, we're gonna wrap it up. I highly recommend Tacina. Let's talk about highly recommending Tacina.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if we've been talking about a lot on the show, but just as a reminder, Tessina is a buddy cop action comedy series in the vein of Super Sentai and Power Rangers, anything cool 90s. Tessina is a woman from the future with superpowers and has basically come back to the past and, for a very specific reason, and in one way or another gets stranded in the past and now has to become the hero of the story by reclaiming stolen tech and stolen technology that a rogue military group is exploiting her and her partner. So, super cool story, a lot of fun, a lot of action, some laughs in there. And we've got 6 books already done. So, issue 1 is in stores. Issue 2 will be in comic book shops the second week of July. And then issue 3 will be in comic book shops in August. We will have the entire series by the end of the year and we're super excited to get this to you. And yeah, so check it out.
Hell yeah. Okay, TJ Sterling, how does everyone find you?
Yeah, super easy. I'm at RAE Comics on Instagram, or if you want to go to my website and purchase comics, you can go to RAEmedia.biz. And that gives you the entire RAE Comics website with all of our different books, physical and digital. And yeah, just check us out online. And also, Absolute Heaven, please subscribe to her channel, share her videos, tell everybody about what she's doing because she's really a lover and aficionado, a purist of comics, and we need more of those people talking about what we do. So thanks so much, guys.
You're really good at this. Do you wanna run my podcast for me?
If you need help, you know what I'm saying? I'll let your boy. Happy to help.